My name is Kevin Martin. I'm here with you from the Lake Erie Regional Grape Program, and I wanted to share a little update about farm labor in New York. So our program crosses state lines, but some of our legislation does not. So our New York growers are going to have some changes coming through their payroll systems as they employ laborers in New York State. So farm laborers in New York State will now be eligible for overtime pay. What that's going to mean on farms is anything over 60 hours or farm workers that work 7 days in a work week. So they will need to be given off 1 day each week, and if they decide not to take that day off and work as available and they choose to work a 7th day, they would be eligible for overtime pay on that 7th day of work regardless of the number of hours they've worked that week. For a work week, if they exceed 60 hours, they would be eligible for overtime pay. And just like in other sources of work, overtime pay is considered time and a half of their regular rate of pay. Other changes in this farm labor bill are the ability of the farm workers to unionize. They would be able to collective bargain, and the farm owners are not able to prevent that from happening, so they receive the same protections under organization that other workers receive. This would the only difference is that they will not be allowed to strike once they are unionized. They've legislated exemptions from the ability for those organized workers to strike. The 60 hours is actually flexible, so right now payment for time and a half will be at 60 hours, but there is a wage board, and that wage board will consist of one Farm Bureau representative, one labor relations representative, and a state representative as well, and that 3-member board will decide if that should change. So there will probably be some studies done, and they'll monitor what the practices are and how potentially behavior changes, farm ownership and farm labor behavior changes with this bill passing. And so that 60 hours could change. Right now it was a compromise to try to make the environment a little bit more flexible as farm owners get used to actually paying overtime. So that's kind of a big change for our vineyard operations, especially during harvest. Statewide, farm laborers receive about $14 per hour plus benefits. Those benefits tend to be pretty extensive in certain crops, but not in vineyard crops. We tend not to provide housing and things and transportation and things like that as they do in other crops. But bottom line is that $14 an hour is about right in terms of an average. And it's right. It's fairly close to minimum wage at this point. Our minimum wage will be right around $12.50 at this point. So there's not a lot of flexibility in terms of changing pay to help compensate for overtime costs. It's something that's either going to have to be managed through hiring additional workers and allowing workers to work less hours, or just actually paying the overtime. So this has been a long time coming. I think we've been talking about this potentially passing for about 10 years, and now with the change in the legislature in Albany, it's here. So hopefully growers have had a chance to think about this and what it's going to mean for their operation. I know we've come a long way in vineyard operations in terms of mechanization, but $14 plus time and a half at $21 an hour, and then probably some additional benefits on top of that in terms of unemployment and workers' compensation. Labor is getting to be a fairly expensive part of our operation. Farm Bureau estimates it'll cost $300 million across New York State, so I think our vineyard growers will be in that pool of people that really do have to change their management strategy to avoid overtime pay or accept overtime pay and make it work within their budget. So just an update, that's where we're at right now, and making sure that you stay in compliance and follow all of those rules as they pertain to you. We certainly don't want people uninformed and accidentally not paying overtime when they need to. And if you have any questions, please comment down below or contact our offices. But that's all I have for now. Thanks.